First, I'd like to introduce our colleague Sufyan Dagra from United Arab Emirates, who will give the introduction to this session. So, Sufyan.
Thank you, sir. What scope of working or training modules that we can do? Can we do everything within the coming 1 or 2 years, or we have to set some pilots, projects, etc.? So those are one of, not all, but at least topics that we find it's important to share with you. Now, coming back to the task team that have been formed since the first conference in Beijing last October, we have developed the TOR for our work as a task team in that issue. And we set some goals that, if you see that, we have to work to develop the methods, tools, including coordination and improve this area as a capacity. We are not developing the materials itself, but at least there should be training that cover this part. Another issue, to provide guidance. Also in the area, how can we also share the knowledge and the guidance from those who have been successfully as a good practices to those who are starting or start working on that issue, and how can we promote that part in the work. Coordinated training in line with international surveys that sometimes we may represent when we have the assessment need what we wish, which is somehow very broad or more than what we should do now as according to priority. And based on the TOR, we set a certain objectives that we have to cover within 2015 and the coming 2 years. And we focus in 2015 on setting the, what we call it, the overall conceptual work that we have to work on it, improve the inputs for planning, for designing the roadmap for deliverables that we have to come up with the end of the coming year. And we have 3 areas, domains that our outcomes or our results will be under these. The first one, assessment of institutional readiness by 2015, and we have used the outcome of the global survey to see how the statistical officers are dealing with training into the area of big data. Development of training courses or models based on some activities or some areas that can be done, maybe not everything, but at least the most at the top or the hot issues that can be developed and can be as a tool that can be replicated for other countries. Capacity building and sharing experience through innovation centers and the global network in 2016, where we think we will move 2 steps in front to put hands on actual cases or actual training modules that can be shared or can be used. Now, I will not go the team. You will find it in the documents just to make. Those are the members of the task team, and over the last year as institutions and countries, they have been contributing to reach the point where we are in here. Thanks for everybody from the task team, and also the support that we got it from the UNSD. And I remember one good supporter, Mr. Markey, but he is not here. Anyway, just thanks and regards for him. Now, based on what we have said just quickly in an introduction, we try to see why we are here in this session. What are the expectation of this session through our panelists and through the valuable intervention or suggestion that we'll get from your side.
So thank you very much, Sufyan, for that introduction and some questions to think about. I'd like to introduce our 5 panelists now. So in the order in which they're seated, Tony Virgilito from ISTAT, the Italian National Statistical Office, where he's head of business intelligence, mobile and big data architectures. And he's also project managing the UNECE Big Data project this year.
Normally I don't like to show actual figures, but this is something that always comes in the question session. So I just put a number there just to give an idea of what would cost minimum order of magnitude to start with, say 100,000 euros, but it's really only an indication. It may cost less or more, but it's just to have a comparison. Key issues for us is the fact that these tools are not what our statisticians are used to work with. And they can be difficult to learn. We spoke about this with some speakers in discussion. And what industry tells us is the infrastructure. Spoke with Stephen Hagen after his awesome presentation yesterday. But what our users, I'm a software engineer, so I can buy that. But our users need something which is more high level. And from Ronald's presentation yesterday, we've seen that this is a key issue. So the whole statistical community expressed need for guidance in the area of skills and training that comes from the questionnaire from the UN Global Working Group. So this is the context that we are working in with the Big Data Project. So what is the Big Data Project? It's a project overseen by the high-level group for the modernization of official statistics. And it's running since 2014, so the high-level group promotes projects for the different topics runs around the concept of modernization of statistics. The Big Data Project started in 2014. It was renewed this year. The first year we focused on experimenting basically different data sources to demonstrate the feasibility of production of statistics. And this year we tried to raise the bar, so focusing on less projects but with higher quality. We would like to be like pre-production quality. And Halbrecht showed the projects yesterday, so what we are working on. So I will not mention that. We'll focus on the topic of this session. And the key, the characterizing aspect of this project was the focus on practical work. We didn't want guidelines, didn't want documents. We wanted to do the work and see what happened. And so that's why we set up a shared computing platform that we called the Sandbox.
So thank you very much, Tony, for that introduction to the Sandbox and its potential use as a resource. And as Tony mentioned, on your tables you have a copy of the Sandbox prospectus, and I would encourage any of you that are interested to take contact with us and to get involved. So now we move to the rest of the panel, and they're going to briefly introduce themselves, and then we will start the rounds of questions. So I think first I will ask the far end. Marge wants to be last. So we will start with Jose at the far end, please.
Some people will not have the appetite for technical jargon. Some people will have appetite to do programming. In fact, this is the reason why we started having, even as I had the Philippine Statistical Association Incorporated, we gave some seminars, just brief seminars for general audiences, but for specific audiences that would like to learn a little bit more. Last year, we gave a 3-day short course on learning R and learning R Studio. Then this year, we moved it one notch, and we started having them learn Twitter data analysis, being able to access with one of the R add-ons called TwitR. So we started letting them know that. And then, which leads me now to my third point, and I'm glad that we're all here, because the whole point is that we will need all the collaboration to help people explore and replicate whatever very good research findings that we have managed to present today. Because at the end of the day, we have to have that kind of connection with what matters to people. Because while I'm glad we have all of this, research activities now on various big data findings, but the reality is, for instance, when we have data captured from satellites to indicate economic activity, I don't think central banks will start linking interest rates to light emissions in space, or that development institutions, some of whom are represented here, will start ranking countries from lightest to darkest. I mean, it's nice to know that you have this research, but at the end, will it connect with what matters, what questions people have in mind? Because we really need to understand where people are coming from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now our next panelist, Yonggun Lee, please.
Can I say here?
Yeah.
Right. So UN Global Pulse is an innovations initiative of UN Secretary General, specifically on big data. So for the past 5 years, we have been working on some issues related to food and agriculture, public health, and urban resilience, and economic well-being, etc., using different kind of the data sets, such as social media, mobile data sets, financial transactions, retail data set, etc. Yes, the remote sensing data set as well. So the all in all, such kind of the diversities requires some of the skills the around data science. So I'm happy to share some of the ideas, our experience about that. I think that's short introduction.
Thank you very much. And now our next panelist, Ali Rabai, please.
Hello everyone. Actually, my colleague mentioned a very important point, which is no one size fits all. And if you want to define data literacy, can we say that one who have basic Excel sheet is data literate or no? We have been training a lot of ordinary citizens on data in different cities worldwide as I mentor in School of Data, and we have witnessed different challenges when it comes to that. We have something called the data pipeline, which is when you go to find the data, verify the data, clean it, analyze it, and then visualize this data. All these are different layers in a data pipeline. So should we, as data scientists, understand all these layers, or have skills in all these layers and all the tools in these layers, or no? This is a very important question. And I think we need one common skill, which is understanding stories, being able to tell narratives. If we go back to the Stone Age, we used to sit around campfires and we used to tell stories. Now our world is complex again, and we need to tell stories, we need to tell narratives. So the way education used to be at that time, we are moving now to this age. And education in the industrial age was moved to mass education from family education. Now we have online education, and we need to be able to tell stories. I think this is the most common skill, which is the ability to tell stories, the ability to be curious when it comes to answering or asking questions about data.
So thank you very much, Marge. You've heard from all of our panelists, and I hope you have some questions and comments ready for them. So if the people with the microphones could be ready to spot the hands raising. I will just start by taking the moderator's privilege and asking a question myself. So what are the key skills that need to be developed and the priorities that we should focus on in the near future? And whose capacity are we really aiming to build? The capacity of individuals, of teams, of organizations, or of society as a whole? So we'll take a few more questions from the floor, and we'll have a first round of responses from the panel. I see already a few hands up. We go to the lady over there, please.
Yes, hi, thank you for the interest. Hi, this is Saad al-Musafi from Kuwait. I would like to ask about what the main issue is facing building big data in your organization? And the second question is what the perspective model that's fit for protect the response of the people on the Twitter or any social media, that's the official statistic built on that upon their opinion. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think down here at the front, please, Susan.
Thank you very much. My name is Susan Taucher from International Telecommunication Union. I have a question concerning the sandbox. And since we are talking here in an international environment concerning skills and capacity building, would this sandbox also be available for developing country participants? Could they also use the sandbox to experiment with their own data? And if yes, what kind of support is actually given in the sandbox? If you talk about technical support, is it more just on how to run it, or are there also data analysts that would actually then help in this case, for example, in the case of developing countries who don't have those skills, to also work actually with the data? So what would that be something feasible for a developing country? And if not, maybe it could be replicated somewhere in a developing region at the regional level or even country level. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another question at the front here. Ronald, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for the introduction. I think it's one of the very important topics of this conference, the skills and training. My point I want to make quickly is on the more structural approach of capacity building. It's like we would not want to, in isolation, develop skills in a certain part, but I would imagine that you look at the capacity of your institute and where you want to do this. So the sandbox also actually came out of the modernization framework, and I think that's also how we should see capacity building. It has to be in the modernization of production of a statistical institute. So I also have as a question is like, how can you introduce not only developing skills in the sandbox, but also develop the statistical skills and keep the statistical production in mind when capacity is being built?
Thank you. We have one at the back there, please.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Kamel Abdelawi from Tunisia, Office Statistics. So my question is related to big data sandbox. So we spoke about software as a service and the platform as a service. Do you have a strategy about data as a service? I mean, the reuse of data, if we can reuse it, because it's a lot of time if we copy the big data to have many big data. So, and do you have enough space and infrastructure to have a collaboration platform to be used by everyone? And the final question, if you are interested, do you have a trial access to test? Thank you.
Okay, I see a few more hands around the floor, but I'm going to just break at this point and get some responses from the panel, and then we'll come back for a second round of questions. So there were a number of questions specifically about the sandbox, so I'll give the floor first to Tony to address those, and then we'll come to the other panelists. So we have about 10 minutes left. I can take 3 very quick questions, and then we have a quick response and final comments from the panel. So there was a gentleman at the front here who was waiting from the previous round. You may start, please.
Good afternoon. I am Ziad Saleh from the Federal Authority of Competitiveness and Statistics. Actually, I have noticed I have 2 questions actually, but my first question has been already answered by Mr. Ali. I was trying to know, about the data scientist and how we can define a data scientist as a data scientist. We can see now in LinkedIn, we can search for hundreds of people who are claiming they are data scientists, but if you dig into their skills and expertise, they would look not. So how can we define in a crystal clear way what a data scientist is, and specifically in the statistics area? That was my question, my first question actually. And the second question is about the global working group efforts to encourage those skills in the developing countries. And is there any momentum and work regarding encouraging the academia specifically to initiate those majors in their programs in developing countries? How can we expect those universities to start teaching these courses in a wide range in the developing countries? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think, assuming.
Well, thank you very much. I really find the panel discussion very, very useful. I just would like to make a comment and then ask a question. My comment is that, which I made in other forums before, is that big data is not a solution in search of a problem. I think this point was mentioned a couple of times, I think in Trevor's opening remarks, I think in some of your remarks. We really, and also Mark's remarks too, we really need to relate the big data to the mandate of official statistics. What are the things we're trying to do? I think that's something in terms of capability building has to be borne in mind. My question is that for many of us here, certainly the international statistical agencies, you have been in the field of capability building for a long, long, long time. So in terms of design, delivery, audience, and so on, you've got a heaps of experience. I think what is challenging this time is that what are the special things that are unique to big data that you really want to provide a capability building? Now, Mark talked about communication skills. Now, these are the things that we have provided capability building in the past. I remember I gave a course in CEP about dissemination, improving communication. So what are the things that are really unique to big data that require some special consideration? Now, in the case of Australia, we have found that some of the things like building statistical skills and so on, these are incremental things and we can actually acquire ourselves. But what we've found is that we really need to talk to the experts like CSIRO, who has got expertise in certain data sets, and we need to talk to the crop scientists because we don't know how those things actually drive response variables. And these are the things that I think, from our perspective, are very important in terms of gathering knowledge and also improving capability. So, thanks.
So, thank you. We have a final question. I see Juan.
Yeah, well, the question is to start working with big data, you must overcome the resistance to move the state of mind of the traditional ways to be able to develop the new methods to produce official statistics or to complement official statistics. But have you thought on one strategy to overcome this resistance, to start to put the people in the state of mind to be willing to receive all the knowledge that they need to add the new field, the new set of different issues that they need to learn to work with big data?
Thank you very much. And thank you, the panelists, and for the question and the answer and discussion. I think we have a homework as a task team in cooperation with the UNSD staff and the statistical offices. I have to just highlight, going back to the first presentation we start with, that without enabling environment on the statistical offices for training, everything will be still questionable. And by enabling environment, we think that statistical institutions have a strategy to migrate to the new era of development, modernization,
and also from the technical point of view, from the statistical point of view. And based on that, there should be a strategy for capacity building that can fit the needs for the development and the modernization of the institution. So if we have no policy for big data, no strategy for big data, no strategy for to modernize, then capacity building, it will be some luxury and that will go by time. It will not be institutionalized within the statistical offices. The other part that we learn from the discussion here, that training is a process. And process always it takes time. And having statistical asset or human capital and statistical feed, it needs time. It is not a push on off, then you will have an expert in big data, etc. Because some of us, I count one of the questions that the pressure, working under pressure, and we have to be fast and to work in efficient way. I remember one case that somebody says the woman needs 9 months to deliver a baby. And then he concludes 9 women may have 1 baby in 1 month. So the situation to have a data scientist or expert, it will not work like this. So this is an issue of cooperation. I just will close with 5 alphabetic that we are thinking of more insight about that. That is ask us or ask UN. It is not the UN as here, that there are an effort under the attitude, where it comes A, because resistant to change is inside the institution and outside the institution. Also, it needs to be changed during training and capacity building. Also skills, which comes the S, K, which is the knowledge, and then we'll have the understanding of the big data, because a lot of us will go to the big data, and then when we ask how you do it, there is a lot of things to be done here. And finally, the networking. And we think that nobody can alone solve all the training and capacity building by himself. We need cooperation with the leadership of the UNSD and the staff to make sure that we are replicating the experiences, the cases, and to minimize the time, effort, and money on the shoulder of the National Bureau and the statistical offices in general. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much. So we started 45 minutes late. Now we are 43 minutes late. So we've saved you 2 minutes through this session. I would like to thank very much the panelists and the people who contributed to the discussion. So please would you join with me in expressing your thanks.